and welcome to Cozy Love Whispers. Settle in, get comfortable, and let tonight's chapter unfold by the fire.
Chapter 11, A Legacy of Love, Part 1, Zan. The week passed slowly. Every time I glanced at my phone, Nick's name glowed back at me, steady as a heartbeat, reminding me why this mattered. His secret had changed everything, and I couldn't keep it from my parents any longer. By the time I pulled up to their house, my chest was tight with anticipation. The car engine clicked softly as it cooled, but the louder sound was my own pulse, steady and insistent in my ears. The cinnamon honey scent I still carried from Nick felt like something physical, a glorious secret clinging to me, warm and alive. I stepped out and smoothed my shirt, forcing a long breath through my lungs. My mother's favorite flowers still lined the walkway, bright and open in the afternoon sun. The familiar sight should have calmed me. Today, it only sharpened the weight of what I carried. I wasn't here as their son alone. I was here as an alpha, bringing news that would change the shape of our family's future. The front door opened before I even reached the step. "Xander!" Mom's voice carried all the warmth of home. She didn't wait. She stepped right out onto the porch, arms already reaching for me. I barely had time to smile before she was in my arms, pressing her cheek to my chest the way she always had when I was younger. I bent and held her tightly, breathing in the familiar, soft scent of her perfume. For a moment, the tightness in my chest eased. No matter how old I got, no matter the weight I carried, being in her arms still felt like safety. "Hi, Mom," I whispered against her hair. "I've missed you too." She pulled back just enough to cup my face in both hands, studying me with those sharp, gentle eyes. "You look good. A little nervous, maybe, but good." I laughed softly, rubbing the back of my neck. "You know me too well." "Of course I do," she said with a smile, looping her arm through mine. "Come in, darling. Your father's waiting." We walked into the living room where Dad sat on the couch, a clear glass of brandy in his hand. He looked up at me with steady eyes. "Hey, son." "Hi, Dad." I gave him a small smile, then glanced between them both and settled into the armchair opposite. "Thank you for meeting with me today." "Oh, honey, of course," Mom said quickly, settling beside my father. "You said you had good news." I drew in a breath. "Well, the news is about my Omega. His name is Nikolai. His family calls him Little Nick, or just Nick." Her eyes softened instantly. "Oh, how sweet. He sounds like a doll." I couldn't help but laugh. "Well, he is very sweet," I admitted, my chest tightening with affection. "Shy, yes, but respectful, well-mannered, and a fine young man." Mom leaned forward, her smile growing. "He sounds wonderful, doesn't he, love?" She turned to my father. Dad nodded, his voice low but warm. "Wonderful indeed, dear." "So, honey," Mom urged gently, "what do you have to tell us about your little Omega boy?" Dad added with a thoughtful hum, "An Omega boy. Who would have thought? Fated to my son. This hasn't happened in many generations." "Yes," I said softly. "He's very rare. One of a kind, actually. That's what I want to talk to you about." They both leaned in slightly, eyes fixed on me. I sat forward, elbows on my knees. "Before I tell you the big part, I want you to know who he is. Nick isn't just my Omega. He's the gentlest soul I've ever met. Respectful, well-mannered. His parents raised him beautifully. He treats everyone with kindness. He's strong, even when he's shy. He's everything I never knew I needed." Mom's hand drifted to her chest. I swallowed hard, my voice thickening. "Mom, do you remember when I was little and you used to make cinnamon pastries after school? The whole house would smell like cinnamon, honey, and spice. It always made me feel safe, like I belonged." Her lips parted, eyes misting. "Of course I remember, darling. Nick smells like that," I said quietly. "Cinnamon and honey. Every time I breathe him in, it's like coming home. He is home to me." I drew a shaky breath. "And to him, I smell like warm cinnamon cookies. His mother bakes them for him whenever he's sad or having a rough day. They've always been his comfort. And that's what he says I smell like to him." I let the words settle. Out of every scent in the world, fate gave us the same one. It feels like a promise made before we even met. Every time I hold him, I'm breathing in the scent of my own childhood comfort. a completeness I've never felt before. Mom covered her mouth with her hand, a soft laugh breaking through her emotion. Dad's eyes glistened faintly, though he tried to hide it behind a sip of brandy. I straightened, looking between them. So you see, he's not just rare because he's an Omega boy. He's rare because of who he is. Gentle, sweet, full of light. He is my whole heart. I let the silence stretch for a heartbeat, my chest rising and falling with the weight of what I was about to say. There's something else you need to know, something no one outside his family knows. Mom's brow furrowed, her hand tightening on Dad's arm. Dad set his glass down, his full attention on me. Nick can conceive children, I said. He can carry a baby, our baby. For a moment, the room was utterly still. Mom gasped, soft, sharp, her trembling fingers flying to her lips. Dad leaned forward, eyes wide, the shock carved plainly across his face. Son, his voice came out rough. Hold on, what are you saying? He's a boy. How can a boy conceive and carry a child? I met his gaze steadily. Nick was born with a unique Omega anatomy, both male and female traits. He has an additional entrance inside his body. It's where his nesting cycle centers, and it's also how a child would one day be delivered. It's not something obvious, but it's real. His body was made for this. I paused, making sure my tone stayed respectful. He didn't even know this about himself until recently, after we met. His parents kept it from him to protect him. When I went to them and told them he was my soulbound, they told him the truth. He told me himself. I looked between them, chest tight. He isn't angry with his parents. He understands why they kept it from him. And when the time came, when he found his alpha, they did the right thing and told him immediately. I drew a shaky breath, my voice breaking with both nerves and joy. So yes, it's true. We can have children. I can have a future with him I thought I'd lost forever. And I want you both to remember, I chose him before I knew. I loved him before I learned the truth. But now, it feels like fate has given us back everything we thought we'd surrendered. They both sat stunned, the weight of my words sinking in. Mom was the first to move. She shot up from the couch and practically threw herself into my lap. Oh, Zan. Oh, God. Oh, my boy, she cried, cupping my face and kissing my cheeks over and over. My boy is going to be a father. Oh, this is the best news imaginable. I never would have thought. Oh, honey. Tears streaked her face as she clutched me tighter. Our legacy, your legacy, it will be passed on. And oh my God, I'm going to have grandchildren. She pulled back just enough to beam at me, hands still gripping my arms. Zan, honey, tell me right now, how many children are you going to have? You could have a son and a daughter. Oh my God, twins. You could have twins. Mom, I have to go shopping right now. She was already rising. Baby clothes. Oh, we don't have anything. A crib, blankets. Oh my, we need everything. Mom, maybe I could stop by the store today. Yes, I should start now. There's so much to get. I have to go right now. Mom, I groaned, my ears burning. Dad reached over and gently pulled her back down to the couch, giving her a firm but loving shake. She blinked, startled, then pressed her hand over her mouth. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. She collapsed against his side, his arm wrapping around her shoulders. I don't know what came over me. I was just overcome with joy. I straightened my clothes, trying and failing not to laugh. Mom, we're not having a baby tomorrow. Relax. We haven't even talked about a timeline yet. Our bond is strong, yes, but we're still learning each other. Dad cleared his throat gently, the sound steadying the room. His eyes were on me, clear, unwavering. Son, he said, voice low but sure, your mother's right about one thing. This is the best news imaginable, not because of legacy or heirs, but because of what I can see it means to you. The way you're speaking right now. I've never seen you so certain, so alive. That tells me everything I need to know. He leaned forward, forearms on his knees. I'm proud of you, Zan. Proud that you chose love before anything else, and that fate has given you more than you dared hope for. That's not luck. That's destiny answered. His gaze softened. You're a good man, son, a strong alpha, but one who leads with heart. You get that from your mother. He turned, pressing a kiss to her temple. She smiled through her tears, radiant. You'll make a wonderful father, he continued. We raised you with love and patience, and it shows. Your mate's family clearly did the same. Together, you'll build something lasting. He sat back, pride gleaming in his eyes. That's how your mother and I have survived every season. Love, respect, and honesty. She can tell me anything, and I the same. That's what keeps a bond steady. And from what you've said, you and your Omega already understand that. My chest swelled, tears threatening to spill. We're proud of you, son, he said finally. You'll be a fine husband and father, and we'll be here to support you both in every way we can. He paused, a gentle smile tugging at his lips. Now tell me, when do we get to meet this remarkable young man? Yes, dear, please, Mom added quickly, eyes already glistening. She pushed off Dad's chest and leaned toward me with urgency. I would so love to meet him. I need to see him, to hold the other half of my baby boy. Her voice trembled. You were born from me, and he was born from another mother. But he is my son too. I will love and cherish him just as fiercely as I cherish you. My throat tightened, emotion rising too fast. Mom, of course you can meet him, both of you. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my voice. And thank you for your kindness, for your faith in him and in me. Most of all, thank you for being my example. The love you share is something I can only hope to mirror in my own life. I turned to my father, tears stinging my eyes. Dad, the way you've always loved Mom, with patience, affection, and respect. It's taught me what love should look like. It's a gift I'll carry forever. My father rose and reached out a steady hand. I took it, but instead of standing, I found myself sinking to my knees before them, overwhelmed, humbled by the love filling the room. Mom gasped softly and slid down beside me, her arms wrapping around my neck. Dad joined her without hesitation, his strength enclosing us both. Just like when I was a little boy. For a long, perfect moment, we stayed like that. 3 hearts pressed together, the air thick with tears and laughter, and something wordless that felt like legacy itself. When I finally drew back, my voice was barely a whisper. I'll make you proud. Dad smiled, eyes shining. You already have, son. I left my parents' house with my heart lighter than it had been in years. For the first time, the future felt real. Something I could reach out and hold. I finished a few things for work that couldn't wait, then drove straight to the cafe, knowing exactly where I'd find him. Through the glass, I spotted Nick wiping down a table, his golden hair catching the glow of the evening lights. Even in something as simple as that, he looked like home. I slipped inside quietly and sat at a corner table. When his eyes found me, he froze mid-motion. A beat later, that shy, radiant smile spread across his face, the one that always made my chest ache. After helping a last-minute customer, he finally came over. Hia, he whispered. What are you doing here? I've come to drive you home, love. His cheeks flushed as he ducked his head. Okay, I'm almost finished, but you have to tell me how it went with your parents. I'm dying to know. I waited patiently until he finished locking up, then walked him to the car. I settled him inside, clicked his seatbelt across his chest, letting my fingers linger for just a moment. He smelled of fresh coffee with that undertone of cinnamon honey that was all his own. Once we were both inside, he turned to me immediately, eyes wide and searching. Well, he whispered. I reached for his hand and laced our fingers together. It went great, baby, better than I could have hoped. They were shocked, yes, but they're happy. They want to meet you. His lips parted, a soft gasp escaping before he bit down shyly. Really? They want to see me? Of course, I said, pulling his hand to my chest. They want to know the one who has my heart. My mom called you wonderful already, and my dad. He said he was proud of me. They're ready, love. They're ready to meet you. Tears welled in his eyes. He leaned into my touch, letting out a long, visible breath of relief. His voice cracked softly. I was so scared they wouldn't accept me. I tilted his chin back and kissed his temple. Of course they accept you, love. You'll see for yourself soon enough. I brushed my thumb over his cheek, thinking carefully before I went on. Now, no pressure at all. But how would you feel about dinner with my parents this Sunday? We could keep it simple. You could cook one of your wonderful meals. Or if it feels like too much, I can cater. Whatever eases the stress for you." His lips trembled into a smile, shy but sure. I would love to cook for your parents. I want them to taste something I made with my own hands." The commitment in his voice made my heart swell. "When you pick me up on Friday," he continued, "I'll get everything I need for Sunday's dinner. I'll spend Saturday preparing so it will all be ready." I squeezed his hand, kissing his knuckles. "Love, that sounds wonderful. They're going to adore you." I started the car, his hand still warm in mine as we pulled away from the curb. For the first time, it felt like every road was leading us forward, toward family, toward belonging, toward forever. Chapter 11, A Legacy of Love, Part 2, Zan. Friday evening, I picked Nick up early. Sarah, his co-worker, was closing the cafe down, so Nick got off at 3, earlier than usual. I pulled up just as he stepped outside, his little shopping list already in hand, that quiet excitement in his eyes that always meant he was preparing something important. "Just drop me off here, Hia," he said softly, already reaching for the door handle. "I'll call you when I'm done." I looked at him, not ready to let him go just yet. "You sure you don't want me to come with you, love? I can help carry things." He shook his head quickly, cheeks turning faintly pink. "No, I want to pick everything myself. It has to be perfect for your parents. You'll just distract me." I chuckled, leaning over to brush my lips against his temple. "Distract you? Baby, you wound me." He giggled, but his eyes softened. "I want this to be from me, Hia. Every choice, every flavor. I'll feel better that way." I sighed, giving in completely. "All right, my little chef. Call me when you're ready, and I'll be right here." He nodded firmly, slipped out of the car, and hugged the grocery list close as he disappeared through the store doors. His golden hair caught the glow of the evening lights as he went. I sat back, heart swelling with pride, but a thread of something else tightened in my chest too. Because as he shut the door, something shifted in his scent. It was still sweet, still cinnamon and honey, but now it carried a faint metallic sharpness underneath. Raw, primal, a note that made the hair on my arms stand up. I stared at the store entrance long after he disappeared inside. I knew what it meant. I just wasn't ready to say it aloud yet.
I walked aisle after aisle, carefully selecting everything I needed. My menu was simple but balanced. Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, and warm dinner rolls. Comfort food, home food, and tucked safely in my bag were 4 of my comfort pastries, saved for dessert to serve with love. When I had everything, I joined the line at the register, fingers trembling slightly as I pulled out my phone to let Hia know I was almost done. By the time I wheeled my cart outside, there he was, parked at the curb like he'd been waiting all along. The trunk popped open as he stepped out. I reached for the bags automatically, but he stopped me with a firm shake of his head. "No, love," he murmured, opening the passenger door and guiding me inside. He buckled my seatbelt, kissed me lightly on the lips, then closed the door. I huffed, folding my arms across my chest, but I couldn't hide the blush spreading across my face. Hia only smiled, loaded every single bag into the trunk himself, returned the cart, and slid into the driver's seat. He glanced at me fondly before pulling away. We drove in comfortable silence, me lost in thought about the cooking ahead, mentally running through every ingredient, praying I hadn't forgotten anything. When we arrived, Hia refused to let me carry a single bag. He hauled everything inside and set it all carefully on the counter. I shooed him away toward the living room. "Go, Hia. Go watch your sports," I told him firmly, my heart already racing at the sight of all the food piled on the counter. He chuckled and did exactly as I asked, flipping on the TV while I started unpacking everything, placing each item exactly where it belonged. This was my chance to show his parents who I was, not with words, but with care cooked into every bite. By the time everything was put away, I was completely exhausted. Working earlier, then shopping, then unpacking all those bags, my whole body felt heavy. I plopped down next to Hia on the couch, my head already drooping. "You okay, love?" he asked, eyes soft. "I'm just tired, Hia." I leaned into him. "I feel kind of heavy, actually." He stood immediately. "Let's get you upstairs, love." I lifted my arms without thinking, and Hia scooped me up easily, the way he always did. I wrapped my arms and legs around him, my cheek against his shoulder, and let him carry me up the stairs like I weighed nothing at all.
I carried him upstairs and set him gently on the bed. "Love, get undressed," I said quietly. "I'll run the bath." I went into the bathroom and started the water, making sure it was warm and perfect before going back to check on him. He was already lying on the bed, too tired, even for shyness, his eyes soft and waiting. "Beautiful," I murmured. "My beautiful boy." He sat up and lifted his arms toward me, that silent sign I knew so well. I reached down and scooped him up, cradling him close, my hands sliding over his warmth. He murmured softly against my neck. I held him tighter. My Omega, so soft, so warm. Put me in the tub," he said, his voice catching between a laugh and a sigh. Instead, I sat on the edge of the tub with him, still in my arms, his legs wrapped around my waist. I buried my face against his neck and breathed him in, slow and deep. The scent hit me immediately, stronger than yesterday, richer, deeper, sweeter and more urgent all at once, wrapping around me until I could barely think straight. My Omega boy smells so good," I murmured, my voice coming out rougher than I intended. "So perfect." He laughed weakly against my shoulder. I held him a moment longer before lowering him gently into the warm water. I stepped out briefly to gather his things, needing a moment to steady myself. When I came back, I knelt beside the tub and took the cloth from his hand without a word, washing his arms and shoulders with slow, tender care. He sighed, leaning into my touch. When I reached for the shampoo and worked it gently through his golden hair, his eyes closed immediately. Each stroke of my fingers against his scalp earned a soft, contented sound that made my chest ache. I rinsed him carefully, wrapped him in a thick towel, and lifted him free of the tub. He clung to me, cheek pressed to my shoulder, his heartbeat steady and trusting against my chest. I carried him to the vanity chair, dried his hair slowly, running the comb through each strand while the warm air flowed, watching his eyes drift half shut in the mirror. When his hair was dry, I scooped him back up and carried him into the bedroom. From his drawer, I chose a soft white gown, sat him gently on my lap, and slipped it carefully over his head, smoothing the fabric down against his skin. I bent close, my lips grazing his neck, and his scent washed over me again, full and overwhelming. The sound that left me was half sigh, half something deeper. My Omega boy smells even sweeter tonight. A shiver ran through him. "Hia?" he whispered. I didn't answer, I just held him, my nose brushing the curve of his shoulder, breathing him in, slow and deliberate. "Hia, what's wrong?" "Nothing, love," I said softly. "Can't I smell my Omega?" He closed his eyes and let me, his fingers slipping into my hair, his breathing slowing. My Omega nearing his cycle smells so good, I whispered against his skin. So right, so mine. He stilled in my arms. "Near my cycle?" His voice was soft, confused, barely a whisper. What does Hia mean? Before he could ask anything more, I eased him gently down onto the bed and pulled him into my arms. His warmth, his scent, his weight against my chest, all of it surrounded me until the whole world narrowed to just him. His eyelids grew heavy, too heavy to fight, and before long, he drifted into sleep. My Omega's scent had changed. I lay in the dark, holding him, and let the truth settle into me fully. I had noticed it first in the car outside the grocery store, cinnamon and honey filling every breath until I could barely think. I had told myself it was nothing, that I was just more attuned to him than usual. But lying here now, his warmth pressed against my chest, I couldn't deny it any longer. My Omega was nearing his heat cycle. I could feel it in my own body as much as I could smell it in his. Every instinct in me roared to keep him close, to hold him, to never let him go. His first heat was only days away, maybe a week. Since he wasn't marked or mated yet, the cycle wouldn't hit him at full strength, but it would still be overwhelming. He would need me. He would need my care, my presence, my protection. My chest tightened as I stroked his hair, watching him sleep. So innocent, so trusting, so completely unaware of what was coming. I drew a slow breath. I didn't want to mate and mark him just because his heat was arriving. He deserved more than that. He deserved choice. He deserved the moment to be right, not rushed by biology, not driven by urgency. Even if every cell in my body ached to bind him to me right now, I would wait. For him, I would always wait. I needed a plan. Tomorrow, while he was cooking, I would call my dad. I would ask for his guidance, not because I didn't know what to do, but because doing right by my Omega mattered too much to get wrong. My angel slept on, his soft breathing warm against my chest. Even the sound of him breathing was beautiful. I shook my head slowly in the dark, a quiet laugh escaping under my breath. I was completely and utterly obsessed with my Omega, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Morning came softly. I lay still for a while, listening to the quiet rhythm of my Omega breathing beside me, his warmth pressed into my side. When I was certain he was settled and content, I slipped carefully out of bed and made my way downstairs. I needed to make 2 calls. The first was to my dad. He picked up on the second ring. "Son, is everything okay?" "Hi, Dad." "Yes, everything's fine. Nick's going to start cooking for Sunday today. I just need your advice on something important." "Of course, son. Come over around 3 o'clock. I'll be here." 3 o'clock. Perfect. I exhaled, relief loosening the knot in my chest. "Thank you, Dad." I hung up and sat quietly for a moment, thinking. Then the second idea came to me, the one that felt so obvious once it arrived that I couldn't believe I hadn't thought of it immediately. I went upstairs and closed the bedroom door softly so Nick wouldn't hear. Then I dialed the second number. "Hello, this is Alpha Zan." I paused, smiling. "No, of course everything's okay. I just need to ask you a favor." We talked for 15 minutes. By the time I hung up, my plan was set. They had agreed immediately and loved the idea. I pictured Nick's face when he saw who was at the door, and my smile widened. In 1 hour, I would go and pick them up. I came downstairs to the sound of something already sizzling on the stove. My Omega was in the kitchen, truly in his element, moving with quiet focus, his golden hair falling into his eyes as he stirred and tasted and adjusted. It was beautiful to watch, the kind of thing I could never get tired of. "Angel," I called softly. He looked up from one of the pots, wooden spoon in hand. "I'll be back," I told him with a smile. "I have to go pick up something important." "Okay, Hia," he smiled. "I'll just keep cooking." 25 minutes later, I pulled back up to the house. The person I'd collected slipped out of the car beside me, our ride back filled with laughter and easy conversation. I opened the front door and called out, "Angel, I'm back." "Okay, Hia," he answered from the kitchen, and then I stepped inside and led my guest through. Nick turned at the sound of footsteps. He froze. "Mom!" His voice broke open with joy. "Oh my God, I can't believe you're here." He ran straight into her arms, hugging her so tightly she nearly staggered. They clung to each other, both laughing, both already tearful, and I stood in the doorway, holding the foil-wrapped bundle she'd brought, still warm in my hands. My Omega and his mom. I smiled to myself. This had been exactly the right idea. My love deserved all the support he could get, always. Nick turned back to me, his arm still wrapped around his mother, his eyes shining. "Hia, I can't believe you went and got Mom." They were nearly the same height, both small, both precious. His mother looked at me, her expression soft and full. "Thank you so much for calling me. Thank you for letting me come into your home to support my son." "Mama," I said warmly, "you are my family." Her face lit up, and she reached up and pinched my cheek with a laugh. "Okay, my son-in-law." She stepped forward and pulled me into a hug. I wrapped my arms around her, already feeling the bond between us settle strong and certain. Then I turned and passed the foil-wrapped bundle to Nick. His eyes widened the moment it touched his hands, the warmth of it, the smell of it reaching him before he even peeled back the foil. "Is this what I think it is?" He looked at his mother. She smiled. "Open them, dear." He pulled back the foil, and his eyes went wide with pure, unfiltered delight. "Cinnamon cookies," he cried. The sound made both his mother and me burst into laughter. He set the bundle on the counter, snatched a cookie, and bit into it. The sound that escaped him, soft, blissful, completely unguarded, made me press my lips together to keep from laughing too hard. He devoured it in nearly one bite. Slow down, love, I teased. There are 10 cookies, more than enough. He flushed pink, but immediately held one out toward me. Try one. Both he and his mother turned their expectant eyes on me. I took one, still warm in my palm, and bit into it. Cinnamon sweetness flooded my mouth. Soft, rich, perfect. Oh, Mama, I said, genuinely stunned. These cookies are so good. I popped the rest into my mouth in one bite. They both laughed at me. Okay, love, I chuckled, brushing crumbs from my lips. I'm going to leave you and your mom alone. I know you've got work to do. They clapped their hands together in unison and turned back to the counter. Nick handed his mother an apron, which she slipped on with practiced ease. Within moments, they were in their own little Omega world, stirring, seasoning, laughing softly as they fell back into the rhythm they had shared for years. She had taught him everything he knew about cooking, and watching them together now was like seeing a memory come to life. I leaned against the doorway, smiling, shaking my head quietly. Mama reached for a pot, pulled it out without hesitation, and set it on the stove. She had never stepped foot in my kitchen before, yet somehow she knew exactly where everything was. Amazing, I murmured to myself. Omegas are truly fascinating. With one last look at the two of them working in perfect harmony, I walked away and left them to their bond.
The moment Hia's footsteps faded, I turned to Mom, happiness bubbling up through my whole chest. Mom, what are you doing here? She smiled, that knowing smile she'd always had. Well, honey, Alpha Zan called me this morning. When I saw his name on the phone, I picked up right away. I thought maybe something was wrong, but he told me everything was fine. She squeezed my hand. He just asked if I could come and give you some support, help you with your task of making dinner for his family. My heart clenched. He called you and asked you to come support me? Yes, love, she said softly, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Your Alpha really loves you. A smile spread across my lips, so wide my cheeks ached. That sounds just like him, always knowing what I need, always supporting me in every way. Mom's eyes softened even further. And before he hung up, he asked me to bring you something. She patted the tin of cookies still sitting on the counter. He requested I make a fresh batch of your cinnamon cookies, she said. He said you'd need them. Tears stung the corners of my eyes. Mama, that's so sweet, so thoughtful. Oh, my little Nick, she murmured, pulling me into a hug. You're so loved. I clung to her, throat tight. When I finally pulled back, my cheeks were damp, but my smile was wide. Mom, I whispered. Hia really takes such good care of me. Yes, he does, love. She cupped my face. He takes such good care of my baby boy. I couldn't ask for a better alpha for you. What did Dad say when you told him? I asked softly. Her eyes twinkled. Your father got the biggest smile on his face. He kissed me and said, "Go support our boy." I laughed, sounds just like him. I took her hand and squeezed it. Mom, I'd like to show you my nest. It's a whole room. Her head snapped toward me. Honey, a whole room? Alpha Zan gave you a full nest space? Yes, Mom, I said, smiling shyly. He did. She pressed a hand to her heart, emotion flooding her face. Oh, love, my baby boy, you're living the dream. Her eyes shimmered, her voice dropping. Most Omegas don't have a dedicated room for their nest. They make do with a small corner, a closet, whatever space they can find. But you have a place that's truly your own. Her voice caught, tears spilling softly. I'm so happy for you, Nick. You deserve every single bit of this. I laughed through the fullness in my chest. Come and see, Mom. I turned the pot on the stove down to simmer, took her hand, and led her toward the nest door. When I opened it and we stepped inside, closing it softly behind us, she went quiet immediately. Her eyes filled at once. Oh, love. She covered her mouth, voice trembling. Nick, honey, it's so beautiful in here. I guided her toward the balcony. The warm air drifted in, carrying the faint sweetness of flowers from the garden below. We sat together for a while, the quiet wrapping around us like a soft blanket, neither of us needing to speak. After a moment she rose, curiosity lighting her face as she looked around the room again. What's through those double doors, love? I led her through. "Oh, love," she gasped, her hand flying to her chest. "A bathroom attached to your nest. And that tub, look at the size of it." She turned to me, tears glimmering, and pulled me close. "Baby boy, your nest is perfect. I love it so much. You've made it truly wonderful." We walked back into the main room, and she paused, her fingertips brushing the frame of the canopy bed. Her smile deepened through her tears. "And this bed, love, I adore the curtains around it. It feels safe, like a sanctuary, for you and Alphazan." I blushed and nodded. "I'm glad you like it, Mom. And this room was first Hia's parents' room. It's where they came home as a newly bonded pair before his father gifted them the whole house. Hia gave it to me." She pressed a hand to her heart, overwhelmed. "Oh, that's so lovely. And he gave this room to you." "Yeah," I said softly, smiling. "He did." Her expression glowed, warm, proud, overflowing with love, as we finally left the nest and returned to the kitchen, rolling up our sleeves and falling back into the rhythm of cooking side by side, just like we always had.
Thank you for spending this quiet moment with Cozy Fireplace Stories. Rest well tonight, and I'll meet you by the fire in the next chapter.